Please, all gadgets are silent. Hello, everyone. This is episode 22 of Tech Bytes by Technext. Exciting, right?
Yeah, it is 22.
Anyway, it's just 3 episodes to a silver episode, if that means anything. Anyway, away from that, as we do, we would bring you everything exciting about the tech space across Africa and the world. It's your boy, it's still your boy, Omole. And with me is a foundational tech bro, the one with the intimidating voice. I don't want him to speak, but he has to say his name, right?
Hi, my name is Dami.
Did you see that? Anyway, January ran ahead. I mean, we did not have the usual 3-in-1.
I don't know what people are talking about. January was still long, regardless.
No, it doesn't. We said
long.
Happy New Year like 3 years ago. 3 days ago, rather.
Exactly, 3 years ago.
No, that's 3 days ago. Well, it's already February 3, so you should know that this month too may be fast. But interestingly, the people and platforms, have kept racing with time. They know it for time. That is why we've had layoffs, expanding in scope. I'm sure you know what that means.
Yeah.
Like, it's not every day that we hear one company or the other laying off. And it's a big tech company.
If you go a whole day without hearing it, it's like something wrong.
It's like you're not seeing traffic in Lagos. What's happening in Lagos? Anyway, but there's good news from Africa. Indeed, there's good news from Africa. Stay with us as we will be sharing some exciting updates from the global tech space. Of course, Africa first. For our discourse, we'll be looking at transportation technology, and we'll have a founder join us, to discuss this. He's already here with us, but we'll not show you, so that you have to stay to the end to, get the juice from this ground. If this podcast has offered some value to you, like, share, comment, what else?
Subscribe.
Do everything. Do everything you need to do. So now let us go around the world of tech in 10 minutes. Done.
Yeah, good news. So last year, Africa did not have any unicorn. But this year, just 33 days or thereabout in, we have our first unicorn. And that's
drum
Egypt,
rolls.
And that's Egypt, MTN Alan. They raised $400 million this week. And this has seen them, cross the $1 billion valuation. So they are unicorn
another drum
now.
roll.
Right. So if you don't know, MNC Alan is a fintech. Yeah. The $400 million they raised is in equity and debt financing. 260 were equity fund and 140 were debt financing. And MTN serves more than 5 million customers in Egypt. That's a lot. A lot. So MTN Alan serves like 5 million, 3.5 are financial clients, and the remaining other numbers are like borrowers, people that lend with the platform. And what it just shows now is Africa is home to 8 unicorns. That's a
drum
lot.
roll again.
Yeah.
Who is doing this drum roll?
That's a lot. Congrats, MNC Alan. All the best.
Yeah, all the best.
Going on. Okay, MNC Alan, MTN.
Okay.
Something is popping with MT and M.
Want to rap?
I don't know what you're talking about. So MTN has set, it's a new Nigerian record. In terms of revenue and profit. So the king of telcos in Nigeria.
Well, by numbers.
By revenue, yeah. So they posted 2 trillion naira in revenue.
That's almost half
in
of Nigeria's
2022.
budget.
I don't know what you're talking about. So in 2022, MTN posted 2 trillion naira in revenue. as well as profit after tax of 358.89 billion. This is like 20% rise from the previous 2021 year of 298 plus 65 billion. People have money in this country.
There is.
People have money. And I mean, their total revenue was like 2 trillion, which is also a rise from the previous year where it did like just 1.64 trillion in 2021.
Is still a lot. Like, so when I get money for this country.
And the servicing revenue, like the service revenue, that's the services it offers, contributed 99.7% to this entire revenue. So that means, every service, the Momo, the calls, the data, and every other thing it offers contributed like 99.7% to the entire revenue. This number just confirms that MTN is big, and
now they have 5G, so it means that
it can only get better.
As more people subscribe to the 5G services, there will be a lot. We'll be looking at 4 trillion next, right?
And they've also broken the record. They are the first publicly traded company in Nigeria to hit the 2 trillion naira revenue mark.
MTN.
So they are the most profitable.
So
they are the most profitable in Nigeria. That's a lot. Kudos, guys. Well done. We hope everything gets better, internet services and every other thing, as revenues come in. All right, moving on. Netflix. Netflix. So this year, Netflix has listed new guidelines to ensure that people don't share beyond households. So it's something that they've touted for like some months now. I think the first time they announced was like last year. They were beginning to have like losses, so they started looking at other ways to cut losses and everything, and the layoffs and every other thing. So now they said, if you are not in the same house, you should not share don't share your password.
Don't do it.
And how are they going to ensure that people don't? So if a user sets a primary location, maybe using your TV or something, if either you do that or Netflix picks your primary location for you with an IP address. So every account that logs into that place has to log in on that IP. At that IP address, everyone has to log in. If someone else tries accessing that account from somewhere else that is not from the IP address, it will be blocked.
Blocked?
Yes,
with
blocked. Yeah. Then they would prompt you to register, join Netflix and all the rest. And this is just so that so Netflix has always complained that people share passwords, and so this means many people
more than half of the people who are actually registered.
So many people are not coming on board. Many people are just using passwords and everything. And I know it's actually something in Nigeria. You even come together and share money.
Password.
Yeah, even come together and donate the money together just to buy the subscription. So Netflix is trying to curtail all of this. But is this way they are going? Is it really the best? Because
you need to pay for services. You need to pay for service. Imagine people are sharing. You want to do like a chair. I think people need to start paying. I don't know.
But would people pay?
So they can actually reduce the rates. Maybe reduce the rates. They have like 500 or 1,000. I'm sure people are going to pay for
because
that.
I just feel it's going to push people back to pirates sites.
People never left pirate sites.
But I mean, the numbers kind of like drop. People were like, "Oh, now
it's exciting for some people to actually watch a movie the day it comes out." So that's one reason why they may actually, subscribe to Netflix.
But the pirate sites almost
comes out today, I'm talking about it in the following day, because pirate sites the movies don't come until maybe 24 hours later, I guess.
Oh well, let's see how it goes, if it works for them or not. I'm sure they would have a team monitoring the progress and every other thing. So Netflix, best of luck. All right, on to another news. ChatGPT. I mean, if you're frequent with social media, that's like the new thing. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, they unveiled their subscription models. So you're paying $42 per month to use it. But Google is trying to say, okay, guys, you guys have started now, but you're not the only one in this space. Exactly. So Google is also trying to unveil its own competitor to ChatGPT. And what would it be called? Apprentice Bard.
practice bad.
And practice bad. Like, that's what
I
it will
heard,
be called.
I heard it's going to be more advanced.
Oh, well, yeah. Google is saying it would be more advanced. It would also power chat products and include a chatbot and a potential way that they will integrate it into the search engine. And Google is the most popular search engine. So it is actually interesting to see how it all unveils. And
Microsoft is planning to also,
to get Chat GPT into it, every other thing. So Bing, Microsoft Word, and everything. So
the war of the giants.
Exactly. So Apprentice Bard would, be similar to Chat GPT. You can enter a question into a chat box and get answers. The answers will also be in human language, so you can easily understand and every one of that. Like Rui said, there are reports that it will be more advanced, but we don't know. We'll just have to wait until the product is launched. Right? So it's a clash of unicorns and big guys this year. Like, hope we don't suffer, because that grass thing and elephants. But it's fine. All right, that brings us to the end of the news around the world today. We hope you had insights from it.
Yeah, to read more, just go to technext.ng. We have all of it on our site. So yes, the conversation of the day: transportation technology, a rapidly growing and evolving space with significant potential to improve and transform the way people move, goods are transported. So here are a few reasons why transportation technology is a big deal. It is aimed at making transportation more efficient, convenient, and accessible for people. This includes everything from ride-sharing services and electric vehicles to autonomous vehicles, and smart transportation systems. I think that's the focus. Think that's the focus of our conversation today. By improving the efficiency of transportation, transport tech has the potential to create new jobs and boost economic growth, as well as reducing the cost associated with transportation. To join us, to break down, the role of tech in transport, is Afolabi Olamide, the co-founder and CEO of Touch and Pay Technologies. Olamide is an entrepreneur and technology enthusiast, experienced with a demonstrated history of working in the financial technology industry, skilled in
the list is long.
Okay, I'll just list some of them: C++, Python, mobile applications, yes, and there are others. You need to check that out. He has a background in engineering, which is Bachelor of Technology, focused on mechanical engineering from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. That's LAUTECH, and he's here with us. Hi, Olamide.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, this is the person I said will join us. You will see later. So without wasting much of your time, first question, the obvious one: how did you hit the jackpot, to partner with the Lagos State government on the Blue Rail Line project? And what's the end point for you, considering transport is relatively a hassle in this part of the country?
Yeah, it's really a jackpot. Lagos State is like a country. If it's a country, it's going to probably be the largest country in Africa in terms of economy and everything. They released their budget recently, and it was about 1.7 trillion.
Yeah.
Just Lagos State. That dwarfs many other states in Nigeria.
Most other states.
So basically, I think the vision of Lagos State to have an intermodal transport system for a mega city to be functional is what's kind of aligned with us. And then we're also at a time when everybody was saying that you have to buy Naira to save Naira. And then they were looking for a local company that can do this. So we happen to be at the right place at the right time. And then so we ran a pilot for when they wanted to launch the BRT on the Abule-Egba corridor. And then we said, this is not so bad.
This works.
Good. This works with 10,000 cards. And then people were tapping, the governor launched it. And then everybody thought in 3 months it's going to fail, or 6 months it's going to fail. And this is over 2 years down the line, and it's still working. So basically, that's how we came into play into Lagos State, where the vision of the governor is actually to have a public transport system that works for everybody in the state. And I think they've also identified that part of the biggest problem in the state is the fact that there are so many cars on the road. And you wonder, too many. And that's why if there's
people keep buying cars every day.
a small obstruction on the road will cause long queues of traffic, and you'll be wondering why. We get to the front and there's nothing
there.
So, and before you can actually enact a law to say, oh, if you are not 3 or 4 in a car, take a public bus. Why should you? You have to make a functional public transport system works. So, and that's what the infrastructure, they've been committed to, driving. And then while doing that, they needed to provide revenue assurance for the players. If you are an HNI, for example, you are as HNI, you have money, you want to invest in transport, and if 40% of your revenue is lost to your drivers, through child practices, you are unable to function. So they really needed, all this to handshake properly for a transport system that works, and we happen to be at the right place at the right time.
Oh, great!
Being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, you mentioned the entry into Lagos, right, with Lagos state government. Yeah. So, are they is it an exclusive partnership or something?
Yeah, well, so as long as we perform, we have an SLA, service level agreement that hold us by the balls, by the jugular, to use a better word, because of course Lagos State Center of Excellence, they don't joke around with excellence. So we have to be at 99.9% uptime, meaning that the number of complaints versus the number of transactions that we do must be so high. So right now we do around 4 to 5 million transactions monthly, and number of complaints around 2,500 complaints. So we are still far.
You cut this soup for us.
That's humongous. That's great. So you've settled the exclusive for Lagos State, but for you, is it also that's what it is, or you are into that part, that means of transportation and all of that?
Yeah. Okay. So Touch and Pay is our vision in Touch and Pay is actually to digitize and process microtransactions. When I say microtransactions, I mean transactions, maybe for our viewers that are outside the country to understand, between 10 cents to $10. Those small transactions that people withdraw cash to perform every day. And we see that the reason why a small merchant cannot progress is because they don't have collateral to borrow money from the bank, and they don't have any means to show that they are making money for the bank to even give them loan. And most businesses in the US or western part of the world, they needed loan to expand. And if the loans are not there, then they can't expand. And the banks are asking for things like collateral, we need to see your transaction, and these things are not present because people have come to pay cash and all that. So we thought to ourselves that if we can digitize this transaction and we can really solve the problem, we can potentially, solve the problem of poverty in Africa, where people can then get money. And when you have to expand your businesses, you have to employ more people. It's a whole ecosystem, and you have to look at it from a very big scope. Exactly. Yeah. So we decided to venture into that and say, what are the problems? And we saw that, number one, the reason why people defect to cash is because it's very reliable. If you are traveling to the north, for example, or to anywhere, as long as you have your cash in your pocket, you can't be stranded. Exactly. If you go with just your card, you can be stranded, because you might get to a place they say there's no ATM, or they will even say there's no network, and you start looking for POS agents. You can't communicate in their language and all. But do you accept cash? Yes. Everybody accepts cash, even in the US, everywhere. So that's the reason why reliability is one of the. So we wanted a technology that can mimic that reliability, meaning it can work offline. It can mimic your wallet, that cash in your wallet, which was why we went for contactless, to be able to at least solve that problem. But when we started seeing that we needed a use case that can be like an anchor, a focal point that has both the illiterate, semi-illiterate, and the very illiterate people. And that focal point, right, that intermission, or what do they call it, is actually transportation. That's because everybody just wants to move. You will see someone in tie, in suits, in downfall. Yeah. You will see a ragged.
He has to get to work by ATM.
Exactly. So, and then that was why we decided to focus on transportation. And then eventually, once we have dominated, we then expand to other areas where we have this problem.
No, great. agree? You want to?
Yeah. So alongside Kabiru and Michael,
Yes.
founded Tap.
Yes.
Am I right? Okay. So the first contactless payment system in 2019. So this partnership is not your first.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not your first, and we are assuming that the bed is not all rosy.
Of course.
So
Yeah, it's bad.
tell us what challenges and obstacles must be overcome, in order to fully realize the potential of tech-powered transport system.
Okay, so in Africa generally, I feel that to be successful as a founder, you have to be very resilient and you have to be very resourceful. And when I say being resourceful, it means that you really need to align with stakeholders, because I think the whole idea of Silicon Valley, social media, social network, that movie and all that, I've sold on the ideology that somebody can just sit down in a room, build something, and it's just going to blow overnight. That was what we thought when we started entrepreneurship. Maybe I would have been working with Microsoft or Google now and be earning my pay. But we thought, we can just sit with the computer and then solve problems.
Sit in one room.
But we were shocked that it's not like that. It's very crazy. So there's so many problems that people need to solve. I mean, we need to solve to make a functional transport system. And one of it is align with stakeholders, because at the end of the day, business is not going to sell itself. Once you have a product, people must use it before it becomes a business. And understanding their need, breaking cultural barriers. There's so many things that goes into innovation. There's so many fantastic ideas that are there today because they're unable to cross that hurdle. And the more resilient an entrepreneur is, the more time, the more thinking they put into crossing that hurdle. There are some things that you think that this thing should be a no-brainer. I mean, everybody should just jump. And then you'll see that
people don't know.
People don't care. People don't care. So I was telling someone that if we had not partnered with Lagos State, if we had built this solution and said, we want to just push it in the open market and expect people to just, we probably have spent over $5 million in adverts. I'll probably have maybe only 100,000 customers today if it's an option. But because it wasn't an option, we partnered. The state saw the value. Every stakeholder saw the value. They bought into it, and then everybody's using it. Then people now started warming up to it that, this really works. This is nice. This is better. But of course, if this guy said, if you ask people what do they want, they'll say they want a faster horse. You need to show them that this can really work. So I think that, being resilient and being very resourceful is going to help break some of the problems. There's so many problems. We get punched in the face almost every day. Used to it.
When you were answering the question before, you mentioned 2.5 failed transaction for every 5 million. That's a lot. But beyond the failed transaction, what does the feedback from the users now?
Yes.
Stakeholders, they're fine. It's good. So that's the whole point of the old Blue Rail system that you've also partnered with. But for the users, how's the adoption been for them?
Well, they have no choice. It's the only means of payment when you are doing BRT. But of course, if it's not working, people will leave BRT and then go to other means of transportation and say, hey, no. So we needed to make sure that we cater to their need. We make them happy. So the adoption so far, the feedback so far has been very fantastic. We've seen posts on Twitter where people say, while everybody's fighting over cash, that carry cash saved their life. And then we have another testimonial where an old man said he was coming from Akure, for example, and then he when he checked his card balance, he saw that he had 200. He was going to Obalende, and the fare was 300 naira. He said he thought that I didn't have any money on him. He thought, how I'm going to do this? Will I be begging people on the road like people do? But he said when he tapped in, that they debited him, and he was so happy because he ran into negative, and the next day he got home. The next day he paid the balance.
Oh, wow.
And he said, this is so fantastic that don't change anything. I just like it like this. So the feedback has been really, really nice. Now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So you've mentioned now Lagos, payments, finding that nexus point, between partners, stakeholders, users. that's transportation.
Yes.
And payments is one hardcore thing in transportation,
Yes.
right? So over the next 5 years now, what active role do you think, and how do you think the payments would have evolved? Because a few years ago,
Yes.
carry card was not in existence.
Exactly.
We probably didn't even think it was
Yes.
going to come this soon. So over the next 5 years now,
Yeah.
what do you think would be that next evolution in payments in
Yeah.
transportation?
It's very hard to predict because Africa, Nigeria, is a very interesting space where we leapfrog a lot of things. I mean, when telecommunication came, we were talking about MTN just now.
Yeah.
People thought that we're going to follow the same thing that the Americans decided from payphone. They went to all these interest pagers and all that, but we just went straight into GSM.
GSM.
and then here we have. It's the same thing with payments. I mean, a few years ago, it was all e-commerce. Any entrepreneur in Nigeria is probably Jumia, Konga. Everybody is just doing one form of e-commerce. These days, there's so many e-commerce platforms, and now fintech came. We had interesting exit like Paystack, Flutterwave is a unicorn, and there's some InterSwitch is there and all. So, and a lot of people have started innovating around it. We've seen interesting ideas around payments, and then so in the next 5 years, I mean, I believe that we'll get to a point where you will enter a place, you will buy food, and you just walk out, and your account will get debited. Your presence there will authenticate your payments, and then you just go. So hopefully we get to a point where you pay without thinking about paying. I mean, your value exchange just confirms the payment, and people will be comfortable with that. Hopefully that's where we get to by 5 years.
Great. And carry card is gearing up to be top leader in that.
Yes. we are working towards it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, take us back, one question. You gave an example of somebody who used the card and, he had to. So how does it work, funding the card, the debit system, all of that. So what's the user experience,
Oh, okay. So, because the vision of the state beyond creating a solution is also to empower a lot of people. If you see any political leader or anybody, they always want a scenario where how many people can this take off the streets as an additional value. So the way the system was built, we had a system where people can walk up to agents at the terminals and then they can take their card and top up. By the way, Carry Card has employed over 2,500 people directly and probably 10,000 indirectly.
Wow.
So
interesting.
And no layoff so far.
No layoff so far. Because people must move.
What?
So what has happened is that we have a system where you get a card from an agent at the terminal or anywhere, and then you are able to top up that card. Say, take 5,000 naira. Let me load it on my card. So they load that money on the card, and then when you want to enter a bus, you just tap. So we have a tap in, tap out system because it's a zonal fare structure. So the zonal fare structure is that when you move from point A to C, for example, let's say it's 500 naira the entire journey, but if you decide to drop at point B, then your balance is returned to you. So let's say point A to B is 300, while point A to C is 500. So when you tap in, we deduct maximum fare, which is 500. But when you tap out at point C, then we return your balance to you. And then you get your money. So even if you have the exact amount, by the time we are returning the balance to you, your balance turns to zero. So when people don't tap out, they might be carrying a negative on their card.
Okay.
Exactly. But when they tap out all the time, they always, get an accurate fare deduction. So that's how it works.
That's
Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting.
Okay, so you mentioned, how the next few years we would definitely see innovations come up in terms of payments. But we also understand that payments is just one sub-segment of how tech and power technology, transportation in the future. So how do you think tech would change that? We're talking about powering transportation with tech.
Yes.
payment is one aspect, but
Yes.
it goes beyond payment.
Of course.
So what other ways do you think tech can play? What other roles, active roles
Tech
do you think
systems that will
tech
come in play.
Yeah.
can play in how people live, work, and
Yeah.
every other thing in terms of transportation?
Yeah.
Maybe not just in Lagos.
Yeah, everywhere.
Nigeria.
So
Yeah.
there's something we are working on that Lamata has also announced that they needed, and not just us, a lot of other people are working on this. It's called an ITS system, integrated transport solution, where if I'm here now and I want to get to say the Highland, for example, once I enter on Google Maps or on an application that I'm going to the Highland, it will give me like a schedule. It will tell me take a first and last mile bus from outside your house to this park, and from there enter a BRT to Obalende. From Obalende, you get another first and last mile bus to your. So it shows me the entire journey at a stretch. And if I'm to take a rail, it will lead me to the rail terminal, and then it will calculate accurately what time is going to take me to get to where I'm going. So 30 minutes or 25 minutes. If you leave at this time, you will get there in this, you'll be able to catch this bus and all that. And that's what we are planning to do. That's already happening in Europe, in the US and all that. But that's where we want to get to in Lagos, where people can accurately leave their house at a particular time and get to where they are going, and they can predict their journey ahead of time, irrespective of traffic or anything. When we have a functional transport system, it comes with an ITS, and even if we're at the bus stop, we're not waiting aimlessly. You know when the next bus will come, and all these have to be powered by technology. So if there's going to be a bus in 5 minutes, you will know. If there's going to be a bus in 10 minutes, you'll be able to see all that on your mobile device, and there will also be a display where you will see all that. So that's where all of us, we are working to. So it's not just payment. Payment is a part of it, just like you've said. So there's a whole lot of things that need to happen for that to work. We are working with a lot of industry players to have an handshake to do some form of interoperability system, where when you see a bus, you know the number of passengers that are in the bus. You have their information. If there's any accident, if there's anything, you're able to track it. You're able to communicate with your next of kin. So all those things, there are opportunities for other entrepreneurs to play in the transport sector, and take a particular problem and solve it, so that we can have smart mobility in a mega city like Lagos State.
Nami, do you imagine a time when you are going from Ikorodu to VI and you predict 30 minutes and you get there in 30 minutes?
In Lagos, I've not imagined it. But maybe we touch and pay and every other.
Yeah. Amen. Hallelujah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So we understand that you are in talks with the federal government. The same kind of partnership you have with Lagos State government. Can you walk us through that partnership for the National Rail Corporation, and are there other partnership you should be looking at?
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, if you think about Facebook, what you think about is connecting people, friends in the hood, and when you think about Google, you think about the web, right? So we are trying to brand ourselves as someone that solve payment problem, at the micro transaction level, and as a result, we are also trying to make a mark. One of the toughest states is Lagos State to do that. And we are also in Kano, we are in Ogun State, we are in Oyo State, we are building the same thing. And for at the federal level, apparently, federal have say in some infrastructure, like the new rail that they built, federal roads. But most of the roads where people interact with, where majority of people interact with, are state-owned roads. We have federal roads, but except you are traveling interstate, you might not even have to apply federal roads. So those are the realities. And then we thought to ourselves that if we're able to show a lot of sources in the state roads, in the most completed states like Lagos or Kano, then we'll be able to present a case at the federal level to say that, hey, let's do this. Let's have because a lot of people that live in Lagos are not Lagosians. They come in and out.
Yeah.
We have so many people in Abuja, in Ibadan that have carry card. You don't even live in Lagos. I come to Lagos from And then that same car card, they hope that it can also work in their states. They hope that they can use it to move from Lagos to their own state as well. So I feel that naturally it's something that will happen, whether or not we have the support of the federal government or the incoming. But it's something that we see that when we execute right, and with the level of success that we are getting in those other big states like Lagos, Kano, Ogun, Oyo, we'll be able to have a single transport payment card across Nigeria, probably linked to the NIN, and have a lot of other infrastructure around it that provide data for people in transport sector to plan, and do a lot of interesting work.
Oh, good. I mean, you mentioned that beyond Lagos and Kano, Ibadan.
Yeah.
So I know in Lagos the BRT is
Yes.
one way.
Yes.
The carry cards work. The blue rail line, which
yes.
is just starting, would also
Yes.
be one way.
Yes.
I also know you are working with like the downfalls.
Yes, downfall.
Yeah.
We are working with Lag Ferry as well, so you can use it to take the boats in
Okay.
Lagos and
Okay.
the first and last mile.
Okay.
buses as well.
And the downfalls, you said Oshodi.
Yeah, Oshodi to wherever you can go from Oshodi, you can pay with carry down food. Then we are doing Yaba. We'll be in Obalende, Ikorodu, and other places too.
Okay.
So is it wherever? Do you mean interstate too?
Yes, so we are working on interstate as well. We have a product called Tapis. So if you go to Yaba, for example, Yaba terminal, and you are traveling anywhere, we have an agent there that we consolidate all the payment points there. Whether you are paying cash, POS, you pay at a single spot. We process the entire payment in Yaba terminal. We are going to be doing that in Ojota terminal. We're starting next week. We are doing that in the BOD terminal around Aja area as well. So we are also going to be covering the entire interstate ecosystem as well.
Oh, good. So what's the model going to look like in the other states? Is it going to be intra-state? They are state-owned transportation, so you'll be partnering with private companies to power their tech.
Yes. So interestingly, everybody is following Lagos model. Like they say, they are the pace setter.
Always.
So what happened is that the government bought a few number of the buses that you see on the road to show that public transport can work. As a matter of fact, they give those buses to private companies to operate. Now, private companies have now seen that this can work, so they are now buying their own buses. So most of the buses you see on the road are owned by private bodies. Lagos State is just regulating it. So regulating to say this has to be the fare, this has to be how it works and all that. So that's like the internal workings. And every other state are following the same model to say that let's buy a few, like I think I know how to buy 100, and then eventually private sector people will be able to come into this and build a business around transportation, and we will be able to regulate exactly as government. So that's what we see happening in Kano, that's what we see happening in Ogun states as well, and in other places as well. So even Edo have now opened a bid to say, oh, we are also doing public transport, and then people have started bidding for that as well right now. So it's something very interesting. Very soon Nigeria is going to transform.
And touch
Amen.
and
Hallelujah. So there you have it. We already have somebody who is solving the payments problem
Technology.
in the transport system, and he's doing a lot with downfall, with
Lag Ferry, real line,
like
BRT.
you're everywhere. But that's interesting. So Dami, do you have something else?
I'm good.
Okay.
It's good to see technology beyond smartphones.
Exactly.
Phone, technology that the average person can be impacted by. And that reaches like the grassroots. The woman selling pepper
and
has access to it as much as the man working in a bank.
And that system actually worked this period where people don't even have cash. I'm not saying cash in days.
Someone said that you have to buy dollar at black market rates. Now you have to buy naira.
True. It's actually buying naira at black market. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining this episode. The theme of the conversation was powering transportation through tech, and we had Olamide Afolabi, who is the co-founder and CEO of Touch and Pay Technologies Limited. So we've come to the end of today's episode.
I mean, Joel asked me if he has any last words.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, I'm good. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to share your
Social handle.
Contact, social handles.
Yes, we are on all platforms at
Okay.
Touch and Pay Me. Touch and
Mhm.
Pay Me. The name of the company is Touch and Pay Incorporated, right? So we have our website is touchandpay.me.
Okay.
No,
Touch
so-
and pay
Touch
dot me.
and Pay Me.
Touch and pay dot me.
And our
Great.
product is Carry. So at Carry Lagos on most platform, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. At Carry Lagos, you find us there.
Oh, great.
We are open for business.
Great. Great. All right.
All right.
Rick?
Okay, mine. Lord Ricky. Ricky is spelled RICKIE. Lord_Ricky.
And I'm Ackdown07.
That voice. Anyway, again, we've come to the end of this. Thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. What else? What else should they do?
Follow.
Yeah. So this podcast is usually shared on Google Podcasts, Spotify,
Apple, Amazon,
everywhere,
Samsung,
everywhere, everywhere. Just do everything. Like,
Yeah.
subscribe, comment. Thank you again for joining us. We'll come again next week. Omole and Dami.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.